So what's happened here in relation to the safeguard mechanism? I mean, this is a complex area, Graham. Step it through for my viewers.
Well, the safeguards mechanism is a process through which the largest carbon dioxide emitters have to enter a scheme where they're told how much emissions they can have each year, and they need to offset emissions that go above that level. They really look at the changes that are being introduced. They work on two levels. One is for industrial users like cement and steel and other things, and predominantly they've been looked after by the federal government, who are providing incentives and subsidies for them to change the way they go about their business. And they can also pass on any increased costs to consumers, so they can frame their business around it. On the other side, there's the fossil fuel producers who have really been in the sights of the Greens in particular, and they will be subject to much more stringent controls, limits on the way they can offset their emissions, and really, unless they can show that they won't have any additional emissions at all, they're going to have to get permission, and that permission will be subject to litigation by those who don't agree with any decision to let them proceed.
You and I know that on the face of it, the government will say these things can still happen, but the reality is they'll go to the courts. We already know Adani, which wasn't subject to this sort of legislation. It was 10 years before they got their approvals. Narrabri, it's 10 years now and it's not yet approved. If that's what it is before this legislation, no company, no shareholder is going to sign off on that sort of decade-long fight in the courts. Give us a sense. APS says today this is going to make it harder to meet climate targets. Tell us why, and also natural gas. This is really key in net zero, isn't it?
That's right. Those two things are bound up, that really gas is a transitional fuel to back up wind and solar and renewables. If you make gas more expensive because you restrict supply and it's difficult to access to do those things that are required, companies will default to coal and other forms of more carbon intensive energy to get by. So hobbling gas really hobbles the whole process of the transition. And what's been achieved here, you sort of hit the nail on the head, Peter. It's all about gumming up the system, slowing things down, finding a new way to get involved in the approvals process. And this changes to the safeguards mechanism has delivered just that.
Yeah, I'll leave it there, Graham, and I will say, throw in the voice. Given the reach of Aboriginal land ownership, native title and many other things, that will also be an added process. There's no doubt about it. If you look at the government's wording on the voice referendum, if it gets up, that's another layer. Graham, Lloyd, thank you.